Today I'm going to talk about maintaining remission in regards to exercise. I do talk about exercise quite a lot, but it's very, very important and it comes up a lot on my blog. So I did make a video about exercise versus recreational activity, which I'm going to link below. So that's probably the best place to start. And now I'm going to talk about, so you've made your distinction between your exercise and your recreational activity. You're doing, let's say you're doing exercise that you enjoy. If you are going to exercise when you're in remission or very close to remission, this is a very, very dangerous line to tread, really. It's, like walking on a tightrope. You could fall off at any minute, and you have to be very, very focused on what you're doing. Some people will choose not to exercise in remission, and that's a good choice. A lot of people will just stick to, walking and not really do anything else because it could harm their recovery. It could cause them to relapse. But some of us do make the choice to go back to an active lifestyle. I am included in that. So's Ruth the ND. And there's quite a lot of people who choose to do that as well. And it's not a bad thing, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But it is a dangerous choice to make when it comes to your recovery. And you have to assess whether the risks are kind of worth it, and what kind of place you're in and whether you're actually in the place to make that decision. I have tried to make that decision several times during my recovery. I have always had an issue with exercise, which makes it even more dangerous for my recovery. I have made the choice to try and reintroduce exercise into my life several times during my recovery and have failed because it has gone out of control. And when you do that, it sets you back quite a lot. So you really have to make sure that you are in the right place to make that decision. I made the mistake several times and set myself back quite a lot each time, and it was really difficult getting myself out of that. So you do really, really need to evaluate your situation, the stage you're in, how long you've been in recovery, as to whether it's a good idea to reintroduce exercise as recreational activity into your life again. One of the things that you do need to do is give yourself breaks from that exercise. Say you're doing regular exercise, for example, I swim once a week, I play badminton once a week, and sometimes I do some Pilates, and I do walk pretty much every day because that's my mode of transport. I don't have a car, and I can't really afford to continuously take public transport when I don't have much money because I don't have a job at the moment. But obviously I want to keep social, I want a social life, I want to do things with my friends, so I walk a lot. So my exercise is quite high. Now this week I didn't go swimming, and I recognised that it made me feel slightly anxious and guilty. That's not a good sign. I then recognised that I decided that I wanted to do aerobics instead of going swimming, and that's a red flag for me because I don't enjoy aerobics at all. But I obviously decided that I wanted to compensate for not going swimming, and that's a big red flag. You don't want to, if you don't want to do it, then you don't want to do it. You should always be doing exercise because you want to, and if you don't want to, that's fine. You shouldn't be making up for it. So I've decided to take the week off because it's a bad sign when I'm obviously feeling that about the exercise that I'm doing, that I feel guilty and anxious that I didn't want to go, which shouldn't be the case. If I don't want to go, I just don't want to go, and so I don't go. And when I want to go, I go. And that should be the end of it. But obviously it's a lot more complex when you've had an eating disorder and you've been had addictions to exercise or issues with exercise. So as soon as you don't go and you start to feel guilty or anxious about it, you need to reassess that, and then, you know, give yourself time off until you feel comfortable going back again. And that is going to happen, I think. If you've had issues with exercise, it's very likely that issues will begin to come back again when you've overcome them, if you're going to choose to do exercise in remission. I think at some point it's always going to start to creep in, but the thing that you need to do, if you've chosen to do exercise in remission, what you need to be able to do, and this is very, very difficult, is to stop yourself, reevaluate, and give yourself that time off. Because as soon as the issues start to creep in, a lot of people will continue to let them creep in because they've already got a hold of them. The issues have already got a hold of them. So you really, really, really need to be aware, and you really need to know that you are strong enough in your recovery that when you see these issues start to creep back in, you can handle them and you can turn them around and you can overcome them. Because, as I said before, I did that. I thought, you know, I can handle this, I can reintroduce exercise into my life and it'll be fine. And it wasn't. And I started marking it on my calendar when I exercise, because I said, you know, because then I can see how much exercise I'm doing, and if it starts to increase and increase, I know I have an issue and I can stop it. But I didn't. It did increase and increase and increase, and I did not stop it. I just continued going with it. I wasn't in a strong enough position to recognize that it was increasing and actually do something about that. I recognized it was increasing, and I just thought, oh well, I don't care anyway. And that was my eating disorder. It had come back in and it had regained control in that way. So you have to know that as soon as it creeps back in, you will be able to, you're in a stable enough position with that topic that you can do something about it. For example, as soon as you are having issues with exercise, you give yourself a break until you're ready to go back, until you're ready to handle that again and make informed choices about going when you want to go and not going where you don't want to go and not feeling bad about it. This is a really, really difficult thing to do. I can't really stress that enough, because you can imagine that you could do it, and then when it comes to it, you don't. You have to really, really know. You have to be 110% sure that you can handle it. Because otherwise you make the mistake like me and set yourself back in your recovery, which I have done so many times. And now this time I know that I am stable enough in my recovery to make the right decision for me and my recovery, and to maintain my remission. I don't really like saying that I'm in remission. I feel very hesitant about saying that I'm in remission, because sometimes I really don't feel that I am, and then other days I do. I'm not really sure if that is remission actually, because obviously there's still bad days and good days even when you're in remission, but I feel very hesitant about using that word as of yet. But yeah, maintaining my almost remission, I don't know. So yeah, if you decide that you don't want to exercise in remission, that's great, that's brilliant. You are really saving yourself a lot of hassle. But if you feel that there is some recreational activity that you think you would benefit from, that you really enjoy, then, you know, that's fine. You have to make your own decision on that, your own choice, and I can't really tell you when you're ready for that. Although I would not advise anyone under a year of recovery to start thinking about that at all. But, you know, that's my personal opinion. So, yeah, you've got to be extremely careful. This is an extremely delicate area of recovery that could easily cause you to relapse. So yeah, basically, I guess what I'm really trying to say is you've got to be stable enough. You've got to know you're stable enough. You should only make these choices when you know that you really know. And I suppose that's a hard one, because obviously I thought I knew that I could do it at some points during my recovery, and I was wrong. But yeah, that's why I would say nowhere under a year. But I mean, for me it was not even under, it was, you know, under 20 months. For me was too soon, really. So yeah, you got to be really, really, really careful. It is possible to, you know, maintain remission whilst doing recreational activity, but you are, as I said, walking a tightrope the entire time. You have got to really, really, really keep an eye on where you're going, what you're doing, otherwise you will fall off. So it's difficult, because I think it's a more difficult remission because you have, you know, obviously in remission you do have to keep an eye out for your triggers, how to avoid them, how to deal with them, etc, etc. You're always keeping an eye out on yourself. But if you're including exercise in that, it makes it even harder. So you really need to weigh up, you know, whether it's worth it or not. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is down to you. My advice is not to do it before you reach remission. Some people are like kind of near remission, and that could be okay as well. But as I said, it is a dangerous decision to make, and it's one that's hard to talk about because everybody is different. There are different stages in their recovery at different times. It takes longer for some people, it's shorter for some people, and some people are able to recognize when it's out of control, some people aren't, and that's you know, again, that's very dangerous for the people that can't recognize it. That's going to send them into relapse, and so it's a very difficult topic to talk about. But maybe, I don't know, I mean, maybe if you are unsure about it, you can have a conversation with somebody. If you're unsure, it's probably best not to do it at all, really. And having a conversation with someone who doesn't have experience with it, they're gonna think exercise is a great thing. I've had that experience of talking to some people before where they just can't understand how exercise could be bad. But yeah, I don't know. There are other people who do understand. Like, there are a lot of friends that keep an eye out for me when it comes to exercise. So I guess it depends how understanding the people in your life are of your issues. But yeah, basically, maintaining remission with exercise is very difficult, and you must keep an eye on yourself all of the time. And if you feel anxious or guilty about not doing exercise, you need to stop doing it, and you need to give yourself a break until you actually think you're ready to go back again, which might not be ever, or it might be in a week or two. It really depends. You have to, you really need to be very aware of your own recovery and where you're at, to actually handle this efficiently. So yeah, take care of yourselves. I hope that your week has been good and that you have had good weather. And yeah, I hope you're all doing very, very well, and I will talk to you next week. And if you have any suggestions for any videos, don't hesitate to write in the comments below or message me on Tumblr.